bring snacks.
Snacks, aka is here with the homie Joe, homie Marcus. This time, another episode of Spoiler Boy.
Spoiler
Boys.
And truly will spoil this for you fashion. We are here to spoil the entire second season of X-Men 97. Um, Look, this is a pretty decent run of episodes here. We're going to treat this like we do every other Spoiler Boys. You guys know how this works. We're gonna have to get some ratings, some before discussion ratings, and some after discussion ratings. So before we even get into anything and start spoiling all of this animated season, I'll start with you, Marcus. Where are you on this season
I
of X-Men
mean,
97?
I gave it about a 9.5 personally.
Okay, that's spectacularly high. Okay. There's a part of me that wants you to tell me why, but the reality of it is, it's more like I want you to defend it, and that's not what we're here to do right now. It's not what we're here to do right now. Jokes, where are you?
I'm at an 8, but
Okay.
I'm sitting on where I could, depending on this conversation, be at a 9. But I'm at a solid 8 for the season.
Okay. I think I'm at like a 7.5. I will say that I don't feel like this season was as good as the first season, though some of that could just be because it had been so long and we missed it so much. But I think that just there were more impactful episodes in the first season. That while this season does have that and does have some really good callbacks to the original 92 run, I feel like if you're not quite caught up on all of that, if you don't recall it, if you haven't done a recap, then they land more flatly. And after what they did in last season to like push the envelope, it's much harder to do that again. You know what I mean? In this season. And so I give them an A for effort for trying to do it. But I feel like now they're in a place where they're always going to have to do that.
Yeah.
And so that concerns me about season 3 and 4, which are both already announced for the next 2 years. So we'll get into it. I want to do this. Let's start with the things from this season that we feel like are the most standout or were the most important moments, because I don't think going through like an episode by episode
Agreed.
rundown is really gonna serve. I would like to, since we are doing this for the season, I think that the season as a whole is what we're grading, and so that's more along the lines of where the discussion needs to be. So let's talk about that. Let's talk about some of the standout moments or the things that we think were done really well, and then we'll get into some of what we think maybe could have used some different execution or what have you. I'm gonna go back to you, Jokes, to ask for just some of the things you feel like were standout that would bring you to an 8.
To be on there. I think one of my, and also probably one of my favorite parts was like, I guess you say Magneto's redemption kind of story that they did within season 2. So obviously having his squad, his team thrown into the past to try to prevent Apocalypse from being created and trying to, stop what Apocalypse actually is. I liked seeing for, I guess, in a way, Magneto, I still say in air quotes, like doing the right thing. Like he still has, the mutants as a whole at heart and what it is that he's trying to do, but there always seems to be a little bit of that Magneto kind of twist on it that needs to be done. I was a little surprised, like, well, I actually not really surprised that they ended up killing Magneto. Obviously with the looming thing of seeing, Gambit, potentially making a return early on as we get through the season. It's kind of was like, okay, we're building up where, he may come back and maybe he's going to be an evil a part of Apocalypse's team, but by the time we get to the end, it's kind of like, ooh, this one may stick for a little while. But I think having him kind of leading everyone, including Professor X up to a certain point, trying to make it through and like let's make Apocalypse the guy. Like maybe if we motivate him the right way, we lead him into things a little bit differently, he won't become this menace that he is in the current time frame. But obviously things went awry, and it's almost like Apocalypse is one of those things that you just can't change, and so we end up still getting the full-on Apocalypse. But obviously Magneto went out with a bang trying to prevent Apocalypse from taking over. But I think that's probably one of my standout moments from the season.
Okay. What about you? I mean, I don't know if I would. I don't know if I would let you get away with that one thing being what brings this season to an 8 for you. But I'm gonna circle back to you.
Okay.
Marcus, what about you?
I would say everything they did with Nightcrawler personally, like as far as like a character, just always being like that central core. I feel like he was the Spider-Man of the group. Like he was like the one like trying to keep everyone like level. And when, as always, shenanigans awry, you're no longer fighting the nice guy fight and you're being a villain, then you aren't and under those constraints of just like, oh, I need to hold back. Nope, these hands are rated E for everyone, and that was like great animation for him. And I feel like that's what makes it a good like standout moment, is like his fight scenes and choreography, top tier, at least in the season, in my opinion.
I mean, there's no deny. I'll be honest with you. Nightcrawler's fight at the end of the season is the best thing about this entire season. That, like, the Nightcrawler's a threat. Like, it's just like, if you could imagine, like, I don't know, bro, Wolverine's attitude in Nightcrawler's
At
body.
Nightcrawler's body and being able,
you know, um, when we got to fight, we got to fight, and my man was ready to, he was on it. There's no two ways about it.
He was like, "So, I don't need swords."
Yeah, I mean, look, I definitely like. I think Nightcrawler's journey is always one of the most interesting. Nightcrawler is one of the most interesting characters in comics. Period. The just the consistently at odds version of looking like a demon, right? Being a man of faith, always trying to be use peace first, right? But essentially having to travel through hell or limbo in order to use his abilities. Nightcrawler is definitely, he's got probably the worst mother. She's maybe not the worst mother, but we're close. She threw my man off of like a waterfall. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's not, and one of the worst siblings. Like Rogue's not technically, she's not biologically related to him.
Mm-hmm.
But Creed, definitely biologically related.
Yep.
You know
Unfortunately.
what I mean? And that's the thing. That's the other thing that like makes, you're not wrong in that he's the Spider-Man. Like he has that. He is trying to save someone who hates him,
Mm-hmm.
who hates all of them, who also happens to be related to him. This is a person who hates mutants in Creed, but both of his parents are mutants. And like going down that path in that episode of being like, you're actually angry because you didn't get powers. You're not really mad at people who have powers. You're jealous that other people have powers. You're mad that you didn't get powers. And because your parents treated you like you weren't worth anything because you didn't have powers. And they did, which is completely opposite. He's literally the opposite of what most mutant storylines are like, where it's the kid who ends up getting powers and the parents want nothing to do with him, right? Or
Mm-hmm.
ready to disown them because they have powers, and that means there is something wrong or something weird with them. Where for in this case, it's the opposite. And one would think generally, like, look at Cable and who his parents are, right? And
Mm-hmm.
what he ended up being. One would think that if you take a Sabretooth and a Mystique and they have a kid, that kid's gonna be seriously powerful and have some crazy mutant abilities or whatever. Slim's just it's a plain old plane. And so yeah, I mean Nightcrawler's it's a short journey in
Yeah.
this because the season is broken up. I don't think they do a bad job. I think part of what hurts the season is that it's broken up into you have this team that's in this place in this timeline, you have this
Mm-hmm.
team that's in
Mm-hmm.
this place in this timeline. You're trying to get them back together, and then when you do, there's just a lot happening, which is not always bad, but there's a lot happening. So for me, while what Nightcrawler did is pretty standout, and is actually the best thing about this season, I think.
Mm-hmm.
My favorite thing about the season is probably simply Rogue's outfit after she talks to a
Yeah.
Celestial.
Yeah.
With the exception of the Wonder Woman headband. Can't quite
Yeah,
figure that
that was
out.
I
I don't
said the
know
exact
why.
same thing.
Hey, I guarantee you that's going to be a Marvel Rivals in like soon.
It would make
A
sense.
variation, maybe.
It would make sense. Um, yeah, I mean the the things that stand out for me in this season are I really like I actually really like Polaris as a character
I'll agree with
Mm-hmm.
that.
to begin with. So I like her really getting an opportunity to shine. It felt fake with them being like, "Oh, remember when you used to be a part of the team?" Like that just didn't feel real to me at all. And like the pictures they were showing, like her in the background, and I'm gonna be real, it could have happened in the '92 season, but I don't remember it.
I don't remember.
I don't
And
ever
listen,
remember her being a part of it, and I didn't like that at all.
yeah. So that was
It was
probably one
like
of the things that rubbed me.
before it was like 92 before 92.
It was '91, back in '91 when she was a part of the group, when just
Year
Magneto's
zero.
daughter was one of the regular
Yeah.
X-Men. Like when Jubilee said to her, like, a Polaris, one of the X-Men, remember them? Used to be one of them. And I was like, no,
No.
no, I don't. I don't remember that. She
Show me
should
the
not remember
flashback.
that. I was like, this is fake. Like I
They can
don't
show you the flashback. The flashback ain't going. That's in a different timeline, ain't?
Yeah. Um and again, I'll be real. Maybe I just missed it or don't remember it, but I don't remember Polaris ever being part of the original teams
No,
or
I
from
don't.
the original seasons. I don't remember that at all. Um
I remember there was a silhouette back for like during like the House of M stuff in the 92 where they had like it
no
was
no no
a
no no no.
silhouette,
That's
not
not a
House of
thing.
M.
I was gonna say because House of M happened way after
Way
'92.
after
Like
that,
that's not a
yeah,
thing.
that was.
Well, not House of M, but there was a silhouette of like you see Quicksilver, you see Scarlet Witch, and then you see Polaris. It was like in like one of like Charles's flashbacks talking about Magneto. So I assume like there's that tie-in to her being an X-Men at one point and then leaving. But then same thing with that one cannonball dude. It's just like, oh yeah, he was there for whatever, and then I'm just like, I don't remember
I don't
him.
know, man. Look, Cannonball is definitely an X-Force guy.
Mm-hmm.
Like I just, I like there are things that I love about the season. Like I like when they do little stuff, like when they redid the title sequence in the
Oh,
episodes where
dog,
they were
that
fighting
was.
Yeah.
X-Force and had them in it. Like I stuff like that is like
I
those
love
feel like
that.
Easter eggs that I love. It made me watch the intro every time they ran the intro instead of skipping the intro because I'm like, well, they might do something, so I need to see
Yep.
what I mean. Who's gonna be in the intro? Um, I don't know how I feel about the Bishop and Polaris thing, but whatever. Like, it's cool. Um, the I like the arc of like following the entire through line of Apocalypse and kind of revisiting Apocalypse again. We did this already
Yeah.
Mm.
Couple
the
times.
first run of the series. Like we already did Apocalypse. So I think that's the other thing that part of it for me, like this season is kind of like we kind of already tread this territory. And I'm not saying there isn't a story to be told there, but like I don't know, I just kind of felt like why are we doing Apocalypse
Mm-hmm.
again when we already did it? And not that it doesn't come to some sort of a good conclusion, but I just think that you know, here's what I really think. I really think even if they had it planned out already, they pinned themselves into a corner killing Gambit in the first season
Yep.
and knowing like you got to bring Gambit back. And so how are we going to do it? Well, we got to make him Death. We got to bring him back as one of the Horsemen. And so we got to we're going to have to bring Apocalypse back. You know
Mm-hmm.
what I
To
mean,
be
and
able
do
to do
that.
that. Yep.
And so like in a lot of ways, unfortunately, what this season did for me was it kind of undid the impact that the first season made by killing Gambit and it
Mm-hmm.
being so surprising and so shocking. Like, okay. And like in the back of your head, you're like, it's comics, bro, or whatever. Like,
We can
they're
bring him
gonna bring him
back.
back. Like,
Like, yeah.
Yeah.
you're not gonna leave Gambit dead, but like,
Maybe wait a season extra in between. Like, I felt though maybe we weren't going to fully dive into it. The hint that he was going to be coming back and kind of let it linger for a little bit. Like that's what I
yeah,
thought they were going to do versus just immediately pulling him back in, or it was going to be he comes back as Death and that's just what he is for the season, and maybe we don't get original Gambit back and we see that spill over a
I
little bit.
I think that's the other thing too. For me, some of what they did as far as they feels really rushed.
As
Um, what I think is the worst thing about the season is the
Wolverine
Wolverine
episode,
Weapon X episode.
I
Yeah.
100% agree.
It's technically a cool episode by itself,
Yep.
but it is another one of those things that felt like, okay, last season we ran the gamut. We did the big powerful thing where like Magneto pulls all the adamantium out of Wolverine's body.
Mm-hmm.
So now Wolverine has bone claws. But the reality of it is nobody wants to see that. Nobody really wants Wolverine. Like, if you're gonna do it, at least give us some good, honest, like savage Wolverine for a little bit of time, so that people might have the option to enjoy it or to like it. Like, make it cool, make it be something worth doing. But they didn't do that, and I feel like they spent an entire episode just like, well, we got to give him his adamantium back. Like he has
Yeah.
to have his adamantium back. So let's just do kind of a throwaway episode that kind of feels like it comes out of nowhere. It doesn't really feel like it fits in with the rest of the season.
Mm-hmm.
It's just kind of there that like you manage to get back from this other time that you were thrown into. The rest of your team is still missing out there somewhere. And what do? You go hook up with some of your most sworn enemies because Wolverine is so selfish. He just absolutely has to have his animanium back because he doesn't feel whole if he doesn't have his animanium. And we never explore that. And we kind of
Mm-hmm.
throw this relationship that I'm not going to say it doesn't exist with Morph and Wolverine, but it
Yeah.
also feels forced. You know what I mean? In
At
this
times on there.
situation.
Yeah.
There's plenty of opportunity for Sabretooth to just be like, I don't care about Slim and kill him and move on. You know what I mean? We do go as far as to just like let one of their team members die, like Maverick died or
Uh-huh.
whatever in like the beginning of the episode or whatever. Um, we introduced the Brood, which
Mm-hmm.
could have been an incredibly really good thing to run with and let that be a part of the season, but it's throwaway. They're in and they're out and it's over. So like and we go from having Bone Claw Wolverine to having Brood version of Wolverine, which
Mm-hmm.
also a really dope thing, you know what I mean, that happened in the comics, to well, we're back to regular old adamantium
Mm-hmm.
Wolverine. And Morph is mad at him, but I guess they made up and they got over it, or you know what I'm saying, whatever. And that's the end of it. And then Wolverine just allows like Lady Deathstrike and Sabretooth to just go on about whatever ridiculous business they're up to, doing no good, because he doesn't actually care about any of that. He just wants
He
his
just wanted his adamantium
Wants the
adamantium
back.
back.
claws
You know what I
back.
mean? And if they had done something that, if they had at least explored Wolverine as a character and made us feel like he felt like he was less of an important part of the team, or he could do less of it, as a part of the team, or something like that. Like if they had given us something that would have even hinted at, oh, he's gonna really try to go get his his claws back because he needs that adamantium, because he feels like he's less of a team member, or he's not as effective as a team member, and so
Mm-hmm.
he's less important. Like if you'd have gave us some of that in there somewhere, then it would have felt like we were doing something to add to the character progression. You know what I mean, or something in some way,
Agreed.
and it wasn't there. So I honestly feel like that really hurts us. Like that episode alone, as good as the episode is for all the things it does do, it feels like it's out of place, and that it doesn't ruin the season for me, but it certainly makes it like I could not give this season a 9.5 with
Yeah,
that
definitely.
episode existing in it. If you remove that episode, then the rest of it is actually pretty good. You would just have to figure out how to explain why Wolverine still has metal claws. You know what I'm saying? At
Right.
the end of the season, but that episode in and of itself, just kind of felt like, why did we do this? You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like,
We
what
just
what
needed
what
to
are we
get his
doing?
claws back. That literally was. I feel
That's
like
it.
when you storyboard it and you're trying to plan out everything, it's like, okay, we have to add these elements back into the show. And it's one thing
Hmm.
that I like and I hate at the same time, is like when we condense things down to only being like 8 episodes for something like this. It like if they would have at least been like, hour long episodes. You know what? Cool. The short amount of episodes works. But when
True.
you're back to just your 30-minute runtime, and it's like, yo, we have to check all these boxes to make sure that we get everything back to square one. And that's what hurt it the most for me, because all those elements that we've added in, just little Easter eggs that we've thrown in, we didn't take the time to just, sit with it for a little bit before
Yep.
just, all right, episode's done, let's move on. Like I typically episodes like in shows like this are like the self-containing ones until we get like the part ones and part twos to continue a story. But it's like when you only have 8 episodes, when you have something that can do like a part one and a part two, it's like
Hmm.
it's just you don't have much to work with it.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, you don't even really get like a really good acknowledgement from anybody else on the team of like, oh, Wolverine got his,
Claws back.
oh,
I
Even if it's
mean,
just a subtle.
but Sabretooth and Lady that they did say, yo, he's telling Morph just like, you're not seeing what he's doing. Like he's only here to get his adamantium claws back because he's clearly only has bone claws.
right, but
And
that
like,
happens, in the episode,
Mm-hmm.
and they don't figure it out till the first time they see his claws, because they're like, hold on, bro, what happened? Which
Mm-hmm.
also, again, for me, like if you're Sabretooth, even if you're like, I would love to destroy the Weapon X lab, you know what I'm saying, or
Yeah,
whatever. Hold on, Wolverine. You don't have adamantium? Oh, I'm definitely
I'm
killing you now.
killing you.
I'm definitely killing you
That
now.
was my thought. All them
hey,
in
I'm
the
killing the
listen.
kill out of you.
big brother,
All
little
them in the
brother
jet
dynamic.
together. All them in the jet together. I was like, and even though the jet ended up crashing, I was just like, they're gonna fight in the cockpit, and like something's gonna go awry amongst all. Because like,
Yeah.
it just didn't make sense that all of like,
I
yes, they hated
mean,
each other, but it was like for them to coexist in the cockpit. Like I
It
felt like
they kind
Morph
of
was
feel
gonna
like trying
have
to
to
throw
be the
away like,
one to
let's
to be like,
also just throw Omega Red into the episode and
yeah,
like,
yeah,
that I thought was like out of nowhere. Just like, what? Why is Omega Red? Like, okay, I get it. We can't put Deadpool in it in like a children's TV show all the way. So it's
turn
just
into
like,
Deadpool.
you
Morph,
100% put in this
you
show.
can do it.
You 100% could have put Deadpool in this. But
and
not,
then
but like, but for what? Like, don't just do it. You know what I
Throw
mean?
it.
Again, the episode is, it is the worst thing about the season. And while, again, as a standalone episode, kind of like a one shot, maybe it's not so bad. It almost exists like that within the season, which
Mm-hmm.
makes it feel like it's not a part of the season. And so I don't know, man. It throws it off for me. Look, I'm glad he has it back. I don't really want to see him
all
running
for the
around
video
with phone
game.
calls, but I enjoy some Savage Wolverine. I like
Mm-hmm.
this. I like that. You know what I'm saying? Like, let me
Oh,
see
and
my man get busy.
could have kept that for a little bit, and they could have explored. Hey,
I
yo, the
mean, I thought they was going to
Animanium
go
was
the route of like, okay, his bone claws are actually the more stronger version because
that's
it took
what,
the
yeah.
properties of the adamantium because he's had it for so long, and it's like, okay, maybe we go that way. I was like, oh, them joints getting broken. We clearly not doing that. He's getting back his adamantium because he's going to feel insecure about his claws being broken every 5 minutes
But
off
we
the
could have
random.
but we could have explored the fact that healing factor and all that worked better without having the Animanium. There was so much they could
Yeah,
do with that element that's in there. He starts really becoming Savage Wolverine, and then when we have him out with the team and doing stuff, it's like, hey Logan, hey, hold on,
bro.
come,
Not to
come.
mention, not to mention that in the very next episode they go to the Savage Land. Which one, we didn't get Savage Land Rogue. I'm upset about that. Like, if you're gonna go to the Savage Land and you send Rogue to do it, you give us Savage Land Rogue. And two, you have a Wolverine that has straight bone claws, and you're going to the Savage Land and he's Savage Wolverine. You could have just like,
Yeah.
there just feels like there's so many different ways they could have done it. It maybe even feels like that episode was out of place, like it shouldn't have been
Mm-hmm.
numbered the way it was and been there. But again, it really does throw off the feel of the
Yeah.
season for me. And one of the things about the first season is that coming back week after week, I was like, boom, what
Locked.
happened? Okay,
Mm-hmm.
we about to do this. And everything felt like it connected. And when you're like, I can't wait for the next episode, I'm really excited about the next episode. This episode leads really well into that episode, especially when you force us to wait a week. It might not have been so bad necessarily if it had all come out at once and you could just binge it.
Binge it.
Then it might have felt somehow a little bit more cohesive. But when you set us up the way you do in the episode before, and then you go to this thing that feels sort of disjointed from it, and then you
Mm-hmm.
jump back into what feels like it was a part of
What it was.
or would have been connected to the episode before, you throw the whole thing off. And
Yeah.
that, in my opinion, it slowed down the wave of the
I agree.
season. Like,
I
it
agree with
made
that.
it like I felt less compelled to watch the episode after that episode because it didn't feel like the episode there was of any significance
Mm-hmm.
or was connected to the episode previous.
Prior.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
I feel like the
Um,
Wolverine episode, to me, it felt like it was a two-parter. And maybe, beforehand, him
mhm.
fighting without the claws, the bones breaking and having to keep doing. It felt to me like there should have been like a build-up to him saying, y'all, I have to leave and go do this, whatever this is. And I'm going to get Sabretooth and Lady Deathstrike, all these. Like, it felt like there was a beginning
But he's too
part
proud.
to
He's
that.
too proud to let them know, like, hey, I'm about to go do this. He's like, I'm just gonna go
But
do
that's
this. I'll
cool.
be back, and they'll never know the difference. And that's exactly what happened.
But that's cool. But they could have done
no,
that.
no, no. See, that's the thing, Marcus. You be making excuses for things that didn't happen. That didn't happen. Like, you're saying that's exactly what happened, but that's not what happened. You know what I mean? Like, sure, he's Logan and he doesn't really care and he doesn't tell you what he's doing or where he's going. But again, even Logan, in a situation like this, where things are dire, half your team is missing, you don't know what's going. Even Logan, in a situation like that, in my opinion, doesn't just go away. He doesn't just go off and form like go get with his old team.
Go forms Weapon
Bro,
X.
hear me. Listen, hear me out. Hear me out.
I'm listening.
This episode only exists because the game is getting ready to drop. That's it. That is the only reason why this episode exists. Wolverine game is getting ready to drop on PlayStation. It is supposed to take place in a time where the X-Men haven't formed yet or are broken up or something like that. He is not a part of and has not ever been a part of the X-Men yet. And he's off with that team, with those people. He's off with Sabretooth and Raven and whatever, attacking Weapon X, going and doing that kind of stuff. That episode only exists because the game is coming out. Like I'm telling you, bro. I'm telling you. That episode by itself will see a spike on Disney Plus when the game drops. I guarantee it. I guarantee it. And if they haven't, like, I know, like, I've been looking at all the, like, the previews for Wolverine. They let people get in and do like 2 hours of gameplay and stuff like that. I know they're talking about how there's like 27 different episodes, outfits and stuff like that for him, bro. If there's not a brood version of Wolverine in this joint, I'm telling you, dog. It's the only reason why the episode exists. That's how it feels to me. Like, it doesn't really belong or fit in with the continuity of the rest of the show, other than the fact that in the last few episodes, when you see Wolverine, he actually has his adamantium. Like, that's it.
That's it.
So it feels like whether they ran out of time or they were supposed to be, because this is what, 9 episodes, right?
Or 8.
So it's 9. I think
Yeah,
it's
it's
9.
Yeah, it's 9.
So the last season was 10. So there probably is a missing episode or something that happened, something that got cut or changed or whatever. But it definitely feels like it doesn't belong or it doesn't fit within the continuity where it's sitting in the storyline. And that just, it throws the whole thing off for me, unfortunately. So, and here's the thing. Good episode. I watched the episode 3 times. I liked the episode. You know what I mean? Like, cool. Let's go get busy. It's a little bit scary. It's a little bit different. You know what I mean? It's aliens and spooky and you know what I mean? Like, but it doesn't really fit. You know, make it a one shot. Do a thing that leads up to the first episode or something like that. I don't know. I don't know. Like, even if you did it and you set it as, yes, when the season starts, you're still going to see Wolverine who's as this. But at some point during the season, Wolverine went off and did a thing. And here's a sneak peek of like what you're going to see, what the animation is going to look like, whatever. We know you're all wondering how he's going to get his claws back. Here's what happens. And then just leave the episode out of the season.
Yeah.
And give me 8 episodes instead of 9. And I actually think that would have worked way better. You know what I'm saying? Way better. And you could have put it together yourself. Or they could have just done like a little stinger or a teaser at the end to just be like, something where Wolverine says, I gotta go take care of something. You know what I mean? Or whatever. Yeah. And then in the next episode, you just know he has his claws back. And you're like, oh, shoot. That's when he went to the, okay. You know what I mean? And that would have been it. It would have been so simple and so sweet. But like, as it stands now, like I could probably, I feel like if you were going to try to watch this now and binge it, like if you haven't watched it at all, and you're going to the first episode and you're going to watch the whole thing, you're better off actually skipping that episode. As far as like how the show feels.
Shoot, you could
like,
watch, just like how you said, you could watch that episode first and then go back and then just watch through and skip it as you go through. Like,
listen, watch it straight through, skip the episode and watch that joint at the end. You know what I mean? And just be like, how Wolverine get his claws back? Watch that joint at the end and be like, oh, okay. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it will be fine. That's honest. That's my biggest issue.
I'll agree
with this season. Is that episode. And the fact that it's an entire episode, even though the episode was good, it throws off the pacing for everything else for me. I liked the kind of push and pull. Charles Xavier is a character I'm not sure I like anymore.
Bro, Xavier's
Um,
the root of
Yeah.
like everything that ends up going wrong in some shape or form. Like it's his fault.
I mean,
well,
to be
you know
fair,
what? But I'm
he
not
did
sure
say we
that's
should
why
just
I don't
leave.
like him.
Hmm.
I don't think that's why I don't like him. I think it's the way that Marvel has turned Charles Xavier into the villain that Magneto always was.
Hmm.
Right? Like when I was reading the comics, if you really look at what the original cartoon was, it's what it is. It is Professor X and the X-Men versus Magneto and the Brotherhood of Evil Mutants, right?
Hmm.
And it's in their name, dog. The
Right.
Brotherhood of Evil Mutants.
See.
Like they're not like, you know what I mean? And yes, they're at odds. And you understand that it's a very complicated relationship between two people who used to be good friends that see the way that things need to be handled very differently,
Hmm.
right? And both are powerful in their own right in terms of leading people one way or the other to do it. Both trying to lead people who are fed up and or are angry, and one is trying to say we need to protect people and look out for people, and the other one is saying they don't deserve our protection
Hmm.
because they don't like us. You know what I'm saying, or whatever. And I don't really have a problem with that. What they've done to Professor X has put him in a place where, like, as powerful as he just always seems like he's whining about something, and he
I
always
agree.
and again, like, so they went from having that sort of a push and pull relationship with him and Magneto, and just replaced Magneto with Apocalypse,
Hmm.
and like I don't necessarily really like Apocalypse having that push and pull relationship with Professor X. You know, like it just feels like we're in the same loop that we were already in. And I don't know, I just feel like I would have preferred that we didn't use Charles Xavier as the thing that Apocalypse is so angry about. Like all Apocalypse wants to do is make Professor X feel bad for being the teacher. You know what I mean? And turn his students against him. Like you've been doing this for 3,000 years and you're inevitable and that's what you're doing. You're not trying to take over the world for real. You're not like at the end of the day, we get to the very end. You've used Gambit, you've tricked everybody, fooled them, and had them for, you know what I mean, a millennia or two or three. And when it comes down to it, the only thing you care about is embarrassing Charles Xavier. That's it. That's the thing. Cause your man died. Cause your man died 3,000 years ago or whatever it was. You know, like
Hmm.
not to mention like we had Kang the Conqueror and we just kind of threw that away,
Yep.
right? Which again might have also been something that was part
I
of the
thought.
plan until things changed somewhere else. And now we're just going to, because again, we've already done Apocalypse within
Yep.
technically the confines of this
Hmm.
series. And sure, maybe next season that's where we're going. You know what I'm saying? Maybe we're
Hmm.
gonna go ahead and bring that back and we'll get Kang and we'll get the He Who Remains and you know what I'm saying, whatever. Like
We'll
maybe we'll
just
go
work
down
it
that
into
route.
like the animated thing, and then it's kind of like we can kind of do what we want to do with. Because as
Yeah.
soon as I saw, when Kang popped up, I was like, huh, like this, like you said, like this
Yeah.
feels like we were weaving threads, but obviously in animation, it's like that was probably completed who knows how long ago. And someone kind of looked and was like, yeah, so that episode you guys got, just yeah,
Hey
just
bro,
use it.
you
But
don't think
I think that
listen,
was
I'm gonna
like a
say this.
season one thing, and then everything happened. Just like, oh well, we're gonna push this off, save this idea for another season. We're just gonna do this season, and then throw him in this season instead.
I mean, look, it's very difficult to do that with animation and stuff has to be planned and you're sending it overseas to get the
yeah.
animation done and stuff like that, right? So if anything, I think they may have gone back and changed his skin tone. That's the part to me that feels like the thing that they probably went back and did because everybody else in Egypt in that time, they're all brown people. And
Hmm.
he is the one who isn't, which is technically how it is in the comics. But like, if you're going that route, you're gonna do the Kang thing and all that or whatever. It just seems like, all right, well let's go that route. Um, I don't know. It felt kind of throwaway,
Mm-hmm.
but I get it. You're leaving a trail for next season. Um, I don't know, man. Like, I love what they did with Jubilee.
Yep,
Mm-hmm.
100%.
I enjoy the arc that she's on from last season into this season, like really getting that upgrade of her power and seeing how powerful she can be later on by meeting her older
Mm-hmm.
self, you know what I mean, that kind of thing. And now kind of really living in that space, really embodying what it means to be an X-Man, being the person who's kind of giving that feedback to a Havoc, to somebody else who really, I mean,
Mm-hmm.
it's Cyclops, just of X-Force. It is his brother, you know what I mean? I'm angry that we didn't get to see the two of them face off
To
in some manner, in this, whatever. Um, Instead, it's Havoc versus Jubilee. Like, what are we doing? What are we doing? You know what I mean? Like, and I guess I'm glad that at the end of it, he was like, "I'm proud of you, kid," or whatever.
yeah.
But why? Why though? You know what I mean? Because you really don't believe in what you're doing. Where Val Cooper is from last season into this season,
Mm-hmm.
um, especially how we end this season.
Yep. I mean, I thought what happened at the end of this season was something that already happened before the season, which is like, and that's what made
Did you?
everything make. Yeah, I thought like the switch had already happened, and it's just like okay, playing a like 5D chess type thing. It's just like okay, I want to maneuver everyone how I want them to go, and I'm the one that's going to have all the power. That was my thought, and it was just like, oh
Sure.
well, she was just already on a power trip, and now they're switched. So quote unquote,
Yeah. I mean, she's clearly been hiding for some time at
Yup.
this point. Her son is now the president, has won the presidency. It's gonna be tricky. How'd you guys feel about the Danger Room episode?
it
I
it was interesting. I like
yeah.
for the concept of what they went for. I mean, me personally, it didn't really land for me. It was just like, oh, you wanted to be pushed, so I'm going to push you, and we're just like,
I
okay.
mean, it's what happened in the comics. I mean,
Comics, yeah. It's like
it is a thing. I mean, again, bear in mind, Marvel Tokon Fighters just came out. Who's one of the characters in Tokon Fighters? It's Danger. So again, we're pushing that kind of like, oh, we
kind
have
of
multiple things happening and we kind of need to, whatever. So like, does it kind of come out of nowhere and feel like it doesn't make a
yeah.
lot of sense? 100%. Like
Yeah.
it definitely feels like it came out of nowhere because we don't build up to that happening with the
Exactly.
Danger Room at all.
Yeah.
It's just
That's
like,
one of those episodes that like if you had like a 15 or 16 episode run that you know what? Early on in the season, and you know what? The Danger Room's having some issues here. Hey Beast, you think you can work on that while we go do such and such and then finally get to this point and it's just like, oh dear. And things go awry. So it's I feel like in trying to keep the episode like how they were in the 90s, and, we had, a 15, 16 episode run, we could do these type of episodes that
more than
didn't
that.
necessarily have to tie directly into the main overarching story that we wanted to be a part of. And it was just, you know what, hey, they're training some newbies, things go awry, and we gotta stay like it makes more sense. But when you're down to 9 episodes and you gotta try to fit this whole gigantic overarching story in here, it kind of just makes it like,
I mean,
why are
but
we
again, it's
doing this?
Charles
Here's
Xavier's
the thing.
fault.
It goes by so fast,
Mm-hmm.
right? So like we get back from our old timeline. We start that episode with Charles Xavier like reliving that moment where he watches Magneto get killed by Apocalypse over and over again and kind of trying to figure out what to do. And as he's telling the Danger Room, do it this way, try this thing or whatever. For whatever reason, the Danger Room is talking back to him and finally decides like, no, I'm gonna. You want me to prepare you for what's out here? I'm gonna prepare you for what's out here, right? Um, it it just it flies off the handle real quick because in that episode we also get the reintroduction of Polaris back to the team. We
Mm-hmm.
get Charles making his way to Genosha. We get
Mm-hmm.
the slight establishment of the Polaris and Bishop relationship thing. We get the establishment of all these new characters being introduced to the Danger Room and like who they are and what that they might
Mm-hmm.
be. And then we use the fight with the Danger Room as the catalyst for what allows Xavier to hold hands with Polaris and allow Polaris to feel the presence of her
Oh,
father
father.
so that she can be strong enough to tear metal apart. Like it's the Danger
You are
Room,
an
dog. Like
Omega
pull that
level
joint
mutant
apart.
from
Like
an
it's
Omega level mutant. Be good.
yeah, like it just like okay, like to be honest, at least as rushed as the episode feels and the storyline feels or whatever, it feels like it's tied to what's going on. It's tied to the episode before,
Mm-hmm.
it's tied to the episode after. You know what I mean? Like it's tied to what's going on. Polaris being a part of the team, the conversation that Polaris had with Jubilee,
Mm-hmm.
you know, as you were X-Man, I don't think Professor X would like what you doing. You know what I'm saying right now? It just, like at least it's tied to things that are going on. But does it feel
Mm-hmm.
rushed? Absolutely. You know what I mean? Does it feel like it comes completely out of left field? Yes, absolutely. You know what I mean? And like I understand that the Danger Room is designed to be able to create scenarios that
Mm-hmm.
with all of their infinite types and numbers of abilities is supposed to be able to create scenarios that are supposed to feel realistic to them.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't have a mind, so yeah, Jean Grey can't read its mind, but telekinetically she should be able to tear it apart. You know what I mean? Like, Charles can't read its mind, it doesn't have a mind, so sure.
Mm-hmm.
He can't, whatever. But, I don't know. It didn't quite it didn't hit for me. So I watched that episode like 3 times as well. Um and there are things I like about the episode. There are things that I feel like are cool about what they did and the animation and how it looks. Again, at least it's tied in and you can feel like there's a full through thread that you can see of them
Mm-hmm.
using that and that having that being a moment for Professor X where he's like, you know what we're gonna do? We're gonna establish a new version of X-Men. We're gonna actually use this island, you know what I mean, outside of the United States jurisdiction, since they put a cap on what we're allowed to
Yeah.
do.
The
Like
X Corp thing was
it
funny.
does in fact fulfill a purpose. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And at the end when they're like, Charles, if you think you're gonna be able to whatever without, like, all right, come see me, which sets up the fight at the end. Like, you know what I mean? Like it serves a purpose, unlike the Wolverine episode. You know what I'm saying? Um, Savage Land episode, again, we just introduced a character who's like the biggest,
Yeah.
baddest, badass
Mm-hmm.
of all badassery, and in and out.
Mm-hmm.
Like where by the time you have any idea who this dude is, Slim gone. And it's like of little to no consequence. And again,
Yeah.
the most important piece of it is the story with Nightcrawler, his relationship with Rogue, the relationship with Creed, getting Colossus back,
Yeah.
right? Having
Yep.
like getting Colossus back or whatever, and just kind of using this. But like you still kind of introduced a big bad. Like
Mm-hmm.
you know what I mean? That like ends up more or less being of little to no significance because technically, like not even half the team ended up beating him. Like it wasn't even like you weren't even dealing with the X-Men. You was dealing with like X-Men. You know what I'm saying? And like that episode is mostly as great as it is because Nightcrawler gets busy.
Dog. The hang.
I mean busy, bro. So yeah, all the rest of that aside, did I go from leaning like this to sitting up at full attention like, oh,
Absolutely.
oh my man getting busy. Let me run that back. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? I'm here for it. I enjoyed every minute of that, and I will rewatch that episode over and over again just to see that. I will tell people, hey, make sure you watch that episode so you can see what Nightcrawler really does. Only to turn around and lose Nightcrawler at the end. I hope you feel that in your soul when that happens. Did either of y'all feel like you saw that coming?
No, I like there.
No.
I not fully.
Really?
When the Celestial talked about the whole sacrifice thing, and when
Mm-hmm.
Rogue came out and kind of gave that look to Curtin passing, it was kind of like, I know he would, but I didn't think we would explore that. Now obviously we don't know 100% what happens while he's in there, because they don't necessarily say that the sacrifice is made. But I wasn't 100% completely sold that he was going to be the one to take Rogue's place for the sacrifice.
I was.
I mean,
It's
at
just
that
the
point,
way they
yes.
talked beforehand and so
Yeah.
forth.
Mm-hmm.
It was obvious to me. Like when she came out and he was like, I was like, oh yeah.
She gave him a hug, everything, cheek, and no power. I was just like, oh, she's
because
not.
it just listen. It would have been the ultimate okey doke to get Gambit back and then lose Rogue. That would have been crazy. That would have been crazy, but it might have landed better. It might have landed better for just Gambit to be like, what we gonna do? We about to go get her. You know what I'm saying? Or something like that. But like, yeah, like Kirk couldn't allow that. You know what I mean? He
After all the stuff, like he was essentially like little brother, like, hey, like y'all need to be like, you need to talk to her, like you need to do this, you need to listen to him. Like he was like matchmaking, but not matchmaking. Like he understood what both sides were going through, and he was just like, all right,
a thing, yeah.
Ultimate sacrifice. She said like she's going to give up herself to get him back, but then he's going to do the same thing. It's going to be an endless cycle of, all right, they're just basically trading deaths. He was like, ultimate sacrifice.
I agree, bro. It's the noblest thing, which is what Nightcrawler would do. You know what I mean? Like, especially after like what we just talked about and what he was willing to do in terms of like saying to Colossus, give my man a fair trial.
Mm-hmm.
I bet you I can prove it. Like, give my man a free, you know what I'm saying? Give him a fair trial. And preaching that, you know what I mean? That idea of the forgiveness and really kind of, bringing it whole and having everybody there realize
he swayed them.
His parents are, you know what I mean? Like,
talk no jutsu for the win.
That's a right. Yeah, it just. I'm glad they at least really gave him his moment to get busy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like when I saw it, it reminded me of X2, like the very opening of like the White House. I was just like, oh, they're doing the thing. Okay.
But just
in
real time.
Except we talked about that joke. Except real time and not in slow motion, which is way better. Way better. Getting it in real time instead of in slow motion. The slow motion is cool because in live action, it's the intro to the movie. So many people were going to watch X-Men had never heard of Nightcrawler, don't know who he is or what he can do and any of that. And so your introduction to seeing him teleport, him bamf, you know what I mean? You needed to do it in slow motion so that people could kind of get an idea of like, oh, my man is everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
He's everywhere.
But in real time, ain't no one could prepare for anything incoming.
Hey, what do you do? What do you do, bro? Now I will say this. The last episode, the fight, the battle, let's call it a battle. The battle at the end of the last episode, where Val and X-Force and like One are in the Sentinels, the human piloted Sentinels, and it's the all-out attack or whatever. Again, like I give them props for like allowing it to build to a point where you can bring kind of all of this in at one point. We've reassembled the team.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Everybody is here. We're fighting to get our friend back. We're also fighting to kill the thing that we've been trying to stop the whole time. We're also fighting against our like we're doing all of it. Like everything's happening all at once. Um and X-Force is kind of getting busy. Now, I was not I liked X-Force. I followed X-Force in the comics.
Mm-hmm.
Most of them, I know them and their abilities, and there are a couple things about this version of X-Force that I feel like are worth calling out. One, I thought I saw Banshee jump out of the ship, and I was like, when did Banshee join the team? Then I realized, oh, that's not Banshee because that's a woman. Oh, that's Siren. That's Banshee's daughter. When did this happen? What's going on? I like that there's X-Force, X-Factor. So you have Cable, Psylocke, Strong Guy, Feral, Multiple Man, you know, Polaris, Bishop, Sunspot. Like, everybody's here, bro.
Yeah.
Animate this for me. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. This is something you've been asking for. It was like, you know, being able to, like, obviously, we've seen the teams in certain capacities through the original series, but it was like now starting to, you know, fully explore, you know, some of these other teams that exist within the X-Men universe. It was a real good play. Like, it's, you know, it sucks it was only 9 episodes, but it's like, it would be kind of cool if we could see maybe a season that was dedicated to one of the other teams, and we kind of do things in reverse where they're the main, and yes, the X-Men can be there, but they're like the side squad that shows up to intervene or do whatever. Because, I mean, listen, I was hooked when we did like X-Force and we did their episode. Like, I was like, when they did the switch, I was like, yo, are we really gonna switch things up right now while the other teams are gone and in the future and in the past? I was like, oh, I'm all for this right now. But then it only ended up being 1 episode. I was like, y'all can feed way into that.
It was cool though. Like, the idea, I think that one of the things is very important, and I honestly do believe this is going to be an important thing for the MCU going forward, is establishing that there are X teams that aren't the X-Men that execute things differently. That they're, you know, X-Force is like, we're mercenaries. We're here to get the job done, and we'll do whatever it takes. You know what I mean? Like, to make it happen. You have X-Factor, which is a government-sanctioned team of mutants that ends up having to go against teams like the X-Men or whatever. Not necessarily unlike the Brotherhood of Evil Mutants, but again, it's the government, you know, version of it. And it's people trying to be like, look, man, we got to kind of like, we're trying to police this. We're trying to do this the right way.
Yeah.
You know, even if it feels like we're doing some things wrong, say to our own people or whatever. So I like that. I like kind of getting into that space because I think, again, it's going to be really important for people to be able to see that you have these different teams that do different things, that, you know, and that some of them, you know, give me that Havoc and Cyclops can't hurt each other. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't mind. Like, you got, look, Jean and Scott are fighting Nathan. You know, Mother Ascani, that whole thing with her and her like helping Nathan as a child and them going to the past to, you know, whatever. And Mother, you know, do y'all know who Mother Ascani is? Like, they don't talk about it. They don't.
I
really
know
give
just
you.
from the show, but I don't know the super deep behind. Like, that's one thing I don't think I've ever explored in the comics.
That's Jean and that's Jean and Cyclops' other child. That's Rachel Summers. Yeah, it's a whole that's Rachel Summers. It's a whole deep convoluted thing, which it's probably a good thing that they didn't dig too deep into it, but they kind of hint at it without ever saying it. Like, they hint at that she's somebody who's more important and can do some things
Like
or
the moment
whatever.
I saw
And
like the
like,
Phoenix, I was like, "Oh, this is definitely it's not Jean Grey, old Jean Grey, because this is way in the future."
no,
And
right.
I'm just like, "Oh, so this is clearly a descendant of Scott and Jean because Madison Pryor is clearly dead, and we know she already had Cable. So it's just
Right.
like, okay, this is
It
clearly their
is
child."
in the comics. It ends up being that, like, to keep a long story short, she basically ends up more or less forgetting everything that she did as Mother Ascani, like later on. Like, she
Mm.
doesn't really remember any of that, being that person and doing that thing. But that's, I mean, that's what it is. That's what it is. That's who
Yeah.
she is. She's their other kid. So um that was an interesting twist to never explore. Like, just to like put it in front of you and then just like
Pull that rug from underneath. Like, nope,
that's
that's
what
all
you
you
need
get
to do.
of it. If you know, you
He's
Yeah.
know.
like, "If you know,
And
you
then,
know."
yep, that's literally,
Which I think is okay sometimes,
yeah.
but sometimes it's not even worth why you bringing it up then? You know what I mean? Like, don't
I mean,
hint
can we?
at it.
I mean, I just want to
He's
say
like,
how Storm, like just jumping back to that point real quick, how Storm's like, "Oh, we need to, there are human pilots." It was just like, you know what? Hurricane. Just blow them away.
Hey, forget the
I
hurricane.
thought
When
you was
she,
gonna say
the
how
jump from when
she
they was in the future
did
and
the
she did
solar
like the
storm in
solar
that
stuff,
episode and pulled
that
the
was,
solar power from the sun.
I was like, oh, like I already knew you were Omega level, but like you ain't never, you have never done anything like that. And I'm like,
I see, she didn't know she was Omega level, which also makes me feel like if I'm Storm and I now know I can do that, man, I know Val Cooper and the rest of the brothers better not show up on my island to holler at my people. I, I shut your son down. I will just shut all of this
I mean,
down.
I'm surprised she just didn't set up like a, what's that joint from the day after tomorrow type of thing around
like
the
a
island,
geostorm
a
type.
Hey,
geostorm.
bro, listen. Look, to be honest with you, again, I try to give the suspension of disbelief for the way they do things. I'm positive people like the idea of Polaris and Bishop being together to protect Gambit or whatever. That's cute. But if it's me, if I'm Professor X, I'm like, Polaris, I need you right here in the front. As soon as the ship comes in, tear it to shreds. Rip that
Yeah.
joint apart. You and Jean rip the ship apart. Like, what are we doing? You have all these sentinels. You got Storm flying around like there are men in there. Tear them joints open and
Yeah.
let they pair. Like,
Listen,
Polaris could
they
have
knew what the
killed.
job was. They
Polaris
knew the
could have
risk they were
wrapped
taking.
all of that up off the break. Like, what are you doing? It just. But all right. You know what I mean? We gotta have our fight. We gotta, do our
Yeah,
thing.
of
Multiple
course.
Man beat the brakes. Multiple Man just beating the brakes off of Polaris. Just
I was
beating
like,
the
that
brakes
wasn't
off
the
of
multiple
Polaris.
man from X3. I was like, oh, that multiple man.
Yeah,
Just yeah.
and then
Only for
Bishop's
Gambit to show
interaction with
up and save
Cannonball
her
be
with a
like, "Yo,
card.
Yeah.
They really just be laying Gambit down with his trench coat on. Like, let that
I
man be
listen. I
comfortable.
hey,
I
look,
said
hey, look." They respect the trench coat. They respect the trench coat. Like it's part like it is
bro, like
Gambit.
the plate joint, like the whole time, like they. I was like, did y'all check my? I guess you just checked his pulse from the
I mean,
neck or
that's what Beast did.
whatever.
He
But
checked him. He was like, "All right, like he's still alive,
Yeah.
barely." That's exactly what
And,
happened.
they was like, hey,
and he was
leave him in the
good.
trench coat. So when it comes time for him to throw down, he gonna look cool still because he got the trench coat on. Like,
He did. He did. I mean, he went. He threw. Like, he had to. He got busy. They let Gambit get busy, which
yeah,
I feel like was also an important thing to do. They let him get one good, like, you know
Hey,
what
I
I'm
still
saying?
got it. Like I may have been
Yeah. Yeah,
under
y'all
someone
miss
else's
me, Shad?
control.
All right, look, let's wrap this up. Um, I enjoyed the season overall. I know I've been ripping it a new. I enjoyed the
agreed.
season overall. However, there are things about it that I cannot. It does not meet what I feel like the first season did.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it's terrible, but I am personally still at like a 7.5.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's cool. I think if you're a fan of it, you should watch it. If you're a fan of it, you
Yeah.
probably watched it already anyway. You know what I mean? So like, I certainly think it's worth watching and keeping up with what's going on. But
Mm-hmm.
it kind of feels to me like if you are a comic book reader and you went this month to get the new issue, and this issue wasn't all that great, you should still go back and get next month's issue. Like, you have
Mm-hmm.
that. Like, I just feel like it just drops down a little bit. Next season might be more incredible because I feel like they did set up some really good things.
Agreed.
So, we'll see. Where you guys at?
I'm still at my 8. Like I think just
Okay.
like I agree with you. Like I enjoyed it, but there was just pieces in here that just brought it down for me, and I didn't feel like it was well. I'm pretty sure season 1 I gave a 9. I'm pretty confident in maybe getting a 10. I don't even
Mm,
remember,
mm,
but there was just elements. Things did feel a little bit rushed when we were trying to do it. The Wolverine episode kind of shook things up a little bit, and I felt like, don't get me wrong, I'm all good with throwing some nuggets here and there to get us set up, but I feel like with being condensed to these 9 episodes, it was kind of just like, hey, let's just throw this in here. And so, hey, here's the Savage Lands. Let's just explore it. Let's just do it. Get in, get it out. Like,
yeah,
so those type of things are what really brought me back to being at 8.
got it. Marcus, where
I,
you at?
I mean, looking back and like listening in retrospect, I think I would give it like an 8.5. And
Okay.
I give it an 8.5. The half is because they keep teeing up all the Spider-Man stuff, and there's no animated show, and it keeps upsetting me because it's like abating me, and all we have is like the comic, and I
Mm.
don't like that.
Hey, listen, at least they keeping the 97 Spider-Man in there. Like, you got more forever, so.
Yeah, I mean, look, you came down a little bit. I'm proud of you. That's tough to do. You know what I'm saying? It's tough to do. You were riding that high, and I don't mean to ruin it for you, but we got to think back about these things. You know what I'm saying? Um, Look, this has been your spoiler boys for X-Men 97 season 2. Thank you for tuning in. Stay tuned because we got a few more things we got to talk about coming up. So there will be some new spoiler boys episodes coming in the very near future. We have Lanterns now hitting on
Mm-hmm.
HBO Max, which is going to have multiple episodes
Mm-hmm.
over the course of, I don't even know how many episodes it
I
is,
don't
but I
either,
know they're
yeah.
only doing one episode at a time. It's not bingeable. The first episode is already available, so we'll be taking a look at that and talking about it, but we're gonna wait until the season's done before we do it.
Mm-hmm.
So might be a little while, but we'll definitely be back. We appreciate y'all hanging out with us. With that, we're out. Tools loose.
Tighten it up, tighten it up. Get your wing up there, Malcolm.